Is Canada about to bring the US auto industry to its knees? Discover how our northern neighbor's bold move might reshape the entire landscape. Stay tuned to find out. It's already started. Just now, Canada triggered a counterattack that has the potential to destroy the whole American auto sector. Ottawa has hit back with its own crippling economic measures in reaction to the Trump administration's punitive tariffs on Canadian imports. North America will be rocked by the consequences of this trade war, which will destroy supply chains, raise auto prices, and result in thousands of job losses. Trump's decision to apply a 25% tariff to all imports from Canada and Mexico is at the core of the crisis. Under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, his administration defends this extreme action by arguing that Canada isn't doing enough to combat the fentanyl crisis and illegal immigration. The economic impact is indisputable, notwithstanding the intense disagreements surrounding these explanations. For American consumers and businesses, the price of goods worth billions of dollars has suddenly increased considerably. One of the world's most intricately linked supply chains for auto manufacturing has existed for decades between the United States and Canada. Parts of a single North American-made car may cross the border several times before being put together. However, that system is currently in danger of collapsing. Canadian-made steel, aluminium, and other essential auto parts are used extensively by automakers. The expenses for manufacturers have increased dramatically as a result of these additional tariffs. Companies including General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis are frantically attempting to modify their operations as a result, facing severe disruptions that may necessitate plant closures and widespread layoffs. Already, Wall Street is feeling the pain. The biggest automakers in America are seeing a sharp decline in their stock prices. Investors worry that as production costs rise, demand will decline, car prices will rise, and earnings will plummet. According to some estimates, these tariffs might raise the cost of producing a single vehicle in the United States by as much as $8,000 to $10,000. Consumers may soon find that purchasing a new automobile is just out of reach, as they are already struggling with inflation and high interest rates on auto loans. But Canada isn't just taking the hit and standing by. Targeting vital areas of the American economy, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's administration has launched a series of retaliatory tariffs in a daring counteroffensive. The worst blow? US auto parts are subject to a tariff. The purpose of this action is to interfere with American manufacturing facilities that depend on Canadian exports for assembling. In addition, Canada is imposing high tariffs on American agricultural goods such as wheat and dairy, further penalizing American farmers who are already dealing with unstable prices worldwide. The figures are astounding. Making Canada America's third largest trading partner, the United States imported $429.6 billion in goods in 2023 alone. $480 billion in US imports came from Mexico, which is also hit with the same tariffs. This implies that trade worth almost $1 trillion is now directly threatened. The three biggest economies in North America are engaged in a war of economic conquest, and supply chains in a variety of sectors, not just the automotive industry, are coming to a complete standstill. Consumers are already feeling the consequences. Due to growing production costs, automakers are forced to pass the cost on to consumers. Over the next few months, it is anticipated that both new and used car prices will increase significantly. But it's not just vehicles. Broken supply chains are driving up the cost of everything from auto parts to necessities like groceries and gadgets. It's just the beginning too. There is more to the crisis than just economic warfare. Canada is in chaos on the political front. Under tremendous domestic pressure, Trudeau has declared he will resign after a new leader is selected in March. Premier Doug Ford of Ontario, meanwhile, has declared an emergency election in an effort to fortify his administration's opposition to Trump's assertive trade policies. Canada's political climate is changing quickly, and its leaders are increasingly portraying this trade war as a struggle for the country's existence. Reactions in Washington are not uniform. Certain Republican senators support Trump's harsh approach, claiming that the tariffs will restore manufacturing jobs in the United States. However, many business leaders and economists who are at war say this approach is self-destructive. History shows that trade wars don't usually end nicely. The last time Trump applied significant tariffs during his first administration, the US auto sector lost billions of dollars, and companies like Harley-Davidson were forced to move production overseas. Mexico is keeping a tight eye on everything. Canada's counterattack might give Mexico the confidence to launch a similar offensive if it sufficiently damages the American economy. A three-way trade war might result in an economic downturn on the entire continent. Growing tariffs would probably cause long-term economic harm that may take years to repair, experts warn, despite the belief held by some members of the US government that Mexico and Canada will eventually give in to pressure. Job losses are among the most pressing worries. Auto factories across the United States are already waging war on layoffs. As expenses climb, manufacturers will be forced to make difficult decisions. Factories that depend on Canadian and Mexican imports are experiencing slow output. In order to dodge the tariffs, some companies might move production abroad, which would further harm American employees. Over 250,000 jobs in the US auto industry might be lost in the next year alone, according to economists, if the trade war is allowed to continue unchecked. The crisis is also testing relations between the United States and its closest allies. Some Canadian officials have even called for renegotiating the USMCA trade deal, and Canadian and Mexican leaders have charged the Trump administration with economic bullying. If trade talks collapse, the North American economy can become even more precarious and precipitate an even deeper recession. US consumer advocacy groups assert that the tariffs will disproportionately affect middle and low-income families. Rising car prices, underfunded public transportation, and sparse alternatives could cost millions of Americans their personal mobility. This would have long-term implications, from lower economic output to lower job mobility. Far from an economic imperative, some argue these tariffs are in the end a political one. Trump has long framed himself as a champion of American businesses, and he has employed tariffs as a tool for mobilizing his base. These policies, critics argue, tend to have unforeseen consequences. Trump's latest trade war with China led to higher prices for American consumers, retaliatory tariffs that hurt American farmers, and ultimately a negotiated deal that did not rebalance economic relationships. Both the economy and society are suffering significantly from this trade war. People's lives are becoming more difficult with increased prices on necessities that they need, particularly for those who are already living in poverty. Families are forced to make sacrifices for necessities like education and healthcare to afford food and transportation in order to live. People who are outraged at policies considered unfair are protesting across North America due to this expense. Perceptions vary in Canada. Some are concerned that this would hurt the Canadian economy in the long run, but others praise Trudeau for standing up to Trump. Politics are becoming further polarized in both countries, which complicates the negotiation of a deal. Other countries are observing this dispute closely because they are interested in its potential effect on them. Prices are unstable due to supply chain disruptions in Canada and the United States, which affects global markets and investment. There are also risks to the environment. The battle against climate change can be hindered by the glacial pace of the development of clean technologies like electric cars. The most significant issue is whether or not the United States and Canada are able to find an agreement for resolving their disagreement based on the current climate of uncertainty. Both countries have much to lose if they are unable to. Decisions made within the next several months will have long-term consequences on alliances, economic stability, and jobs. The hope is that leaders will be able to come up with a way to have strong trade relations while keeping people's lives safe. Both sides are gearing up for a long and painful standoff as the crisis unfolds. Canada's counterattack has shown that it is willing to cause economic pain to the United States in defense of its own interests. Now, the question is, how much damage will be done to both sides before one of them gives in? In the end, the American consumer is in the middle. Direct consequences of this ongoing conflict include higher prices, economic loss, and job insecurity. Canada's recent hardball play has put the US auto industry on the brink of disaster. Are we witnessing the start of an all-out economic catastrophe, or will saner heads prevail? Only time will tell, but there is no doubt that North America will never be the same. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Canada's game-changing move, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you never miss our latest videos. What are your thoughts on the impact of this bold decision? Let us know in the comments below. See you in the next one.